Hi friends, this is Angelica. Welcome back to my channel. I was recently going through my stash of products and I found a die set that I haven't used in a couple years. So I thought I would pull that out and just have a lot of fun with it, get back to basics to what I like to do with die sets and share my process with you. I'm going to be using the Greetery's Shapely Heart die set. This is a 3-piece heart die set, and here are the sizes of the hearts. I am just going to be using the 2 smaller hearts today. The larger heart I will save for a different project, but we're going to make backgrounds with these hearts. And then the sentiments that we're going to use is from the new Hot Stuff sentiment stamp set from the Greetery also. So I'm going to start first by stamping out a whole bunch of sentiments. I've already die cut white cardstock with the coordinating die, and I'm going to stamp the die cuts now with the sentiments. This is the easiest way for me to stamp sentiments that are pretty intricate with their dies. And this is also just a really quick and easy way to get a lot of sentiments made, especially like for Christmas cards, or if you want to get a lot of birthday cards put together. This is the quickest way to get the sentiments for your cards done. I've also die cut hearts already off screen, so now that I have the sentiments done and the hearts done, we can just jump right into making backgrounds. So the first background that we're going to make is just a die cut background. I do this quite often, especially with flowers, balloons. You can do this with circles, any sort of nesting dies that you have in your stash. I'm using hearts because it is February and Valentine's Day is right around the corner. But I like to die cut a whole bunch of shapes, or a whole bunch, like I die cut a whole bunch of hearts in different colors, and I'm just putting them, playing with arrangements around the panel until I find an arrangement that I like. And then I will glue the panel down, or glue the die cuts down to the panel. Now I am going to have to trim the edges, so I do want to keep one edge straight without any hearts on it, so it's easiest for me to put that on my paper trimmer and get the other 3 edges cut cleanly. And by the way, this is an A2 size panel that I'm working with. So I got the last of the hearts glued on. I'm going to trim that, the last of the edges. And that's going to finish the first panel. Now I'm making a second one. This is a smaller panel and I'm only using the smaller hearts. Another thing that you can do when you're making your backgrounds like this is when you're trimming off an edge, like the top edge here, I have that red heart hanging off, and it's a lot of the red heart. I'm actually going to use the top of that heart and glue it to the bottom. So I'm saving a little bit of time and paper by not having to die cut one more red heart to finish the panel. I'm going to glue that last heart in place, and then you're going to see both of the panels side by side, the regular size A2 panel with the bigger hearts on it, and then the smaller panel. And I did make a card with the smaller panel. I backed it with some black cardstock and just added a Hot Stuff sentiment with some thin foam squares. So for my second background, I'm going to make a frame to put around the sentiment. And I've die cut black hearts this time, and I'm just doing the same thing again, just making an arrangement until I like the positions of the hearts, and then I'll glue them down. A tip for you when you're making backgrounds like this, if you do like a really intricate arrangement with your die cuts and it comes time to gluing and you really don't want to mess up your arrangement, or maybe glue it wrong, take a picture of your panel with your phone and then use that picture as a reference. I do that quite often. Okay, so now I am working again with colored cardstock, and I'm trying to figure out how I want the color arrangement of these hearts to be. And once I figure that out, I'm going to glue them to the black hearts, and I'm going to shift them a little bit to the right so that black peeks out just a little bit for a drop shadow. And that black just really makes those hearts really jump off the card panel. I'm just going to finish getting these hearts glued on, and then I'll take it over to my paper trimmer and clean the edges up. And I also made a panel with the hearts in the same positions, but without the black cardstock underneath, just so you can see the difference of how they look. And I love the pop of black and it just matches perfectly with the Love You sentiment stamped in black ink. The next panel that I'm going to do is kind of like as if I had die cut the card panel with a cover plate. So I'm using the same 2 heart dies, and I am running my cardstock through the die cut machine with the hearts in different positions numerous times, and I will have a panel that looks like I just ran it one time through a with a cover plate with one die. I'm almost done with this panel, and then I'm going to move on to making an ink blended panel to put that panel on top of. So I'm going to be blending Distress Oxide inks onto Bristol Smooth paper. This is my favorite paper to do ink blending on. I started with Seedless Preserves and then moved on to Picked Raspberry, Kitsch Flamingo, and then I'm going to finish with Festive Berries. So I like to just start from one side, blend down to the other side, and then just really clean up those blend lines, working back up to Seedless Preserves. And again, working on Bristol Smooth paper just makes this such an easy project to do, as you can get it done really quickly. Now I'm going to top the panel with the die cut panel, and I trimmed the Bristol Smooth paper down, and I decided I wanted to add the white heart panel with thin foam squares just to give it a little bit of dimension. So I took my time, I added a lot of thin foam squares, and then attached it really carefully to the inked background. And I liked this panel so much that I did it again, this time die cutting an inked panel, which it was another panel of Bristol Smooth paper. I used the same Distress Oxide inks to ink blend, and then I die cut the hearts. I have the colored die cut panel ready to go onto a card base, and I'm going to use the die cuts that came from using the hearts. I'm going to glue that onto another card base. So I was able to get 2 card bases decorated by this one inked background. And once these are on their card bases, I'm just going to finish up with another hot stuff sentiment for each card, and that's going to finish the third way that I like to use dies. Another thing that I do quite often with dies, nested dies like this, shaped dies, is I like to ink my own white cardstock. So I die cut a whole bunch of white, Neenah Solar White cardstock. And again, I'm going to use the Distress Oxide inks. I did ink the large heart, even though I'm not going to use it. But the colors that I used for these hearts, Seedless Preserves and Picked Raspberry is for the more pinkish purple heart, and then for the red heart I used Festive Berries and Saltwater Taffy, and then I also made a couple orange hearts using dried Marigold and a rusty Hinge. I haven't made a slimline card in a little while, so I thought I would make a heart arrangement on a slimline card to start off with these colored hearts. So I made a quick arrangement, decided on which hearts I wanted to be on the background and then which hearts I wanted to kind of have popped up. So I used glue to attach the like very bottom part of this arrangement first, and then I'm going to use thin foam squares to add the second layer of hearts. And I'm trying to be careful where I'm putting the thin foam squares on the hearts, just so I am attaching the thin foam squares to the white card base and not some on top of the hearts too, because then the hearts will look a little lopsided. So when I do arrangements like this, I do try to pay close attention to where I'm putting my foam squares at. Once I'm finished with this arrangement, I'm going to add another hot stuff sentiment, and that's going to finish this slimline card. I love these vibrant colors next to that black ink. I just think this looks fantastic. And since I had a lot of inked hearts left over, I decided to do one more card and just making another background arrangement, starting with the larger hearts. I'm going to attach these hearts to a smaller white panel. I have the white panel sitting on top of a card base just so I can kind of see how far I want the hearts to hang off the smaller panel. And once I have this big hearts arrangement done, I'm going to bring in the smaller hearts and just play around for a couple minutes, moving the hearts in different positions until I like how they look. I did change out the red sentiment with a black sentiment, and I backed the panel with some black cardstock just to really make that sentiment pop. And the last idea that I'm going to share today in this video is making stencils with your dies. So I have 2 panels of vellum, and I'm going to die cut a heart out of each panel. I'm using the same 2 dies that I've been using the whole video, and I am going to stencil or ink the hearts onto a card panel. So I'm going to be using orange, pinks, and red inks from Pink Fresh Studio. And I'm not going to worry about cleaning the vellum stencils because I'm using colors that are so close together on the color wheel. I am just starting with like the lightest color out of them, and excuse me, I'm just gonna move these stencils around and just make a really lovely heart arrangement. So I started first with the large heart, and I used lighter inks with the large hearts, and then the smaller hearts, so I'm going to go up a color in the color family of each color family in the Pink Fresh Studio inks, and just use a little bit of a heavier hand when I'm inking these smaller hearts, so they kind of look like they're the top layer of this stenciled background. Now, layered stencil sets right now are a pretty hot item, but they are also a bit expensive. So this is just another way of using what's already in your stash, saving a little bit of money, and just thinking outside of the box. Any stackable die set that you have, it will make beautiful backgrounds like these 2 hearts did. I've done this with balloons before and absolutely loved the way it turned out. I finished this panel with a very simple hot stuff sentiment and attached it to a card base, and that's going to finish this card. So from 1 die set and 1 stamp set, I was able to show how to make 7 different cards, plus I have panels put aside for future use. It was a lot of fun to retouch this product, and this is something that I'm probably going to start doing a lot more often. Just getting back to basics and saving a little bit of money. It is a lot of fun to look forward to new releases, but in my craft room, the older product does get a bit dusty because I forget to use them. So you're probably going to see me pulling out older product a lot more. So this is going to end today's video. I want to thank you so much for stopping by and spending some time with me. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I would love to hear from you, and be sure to subscribe if you'd like to see more. I'm going to be back shortly with another video, so I'll see you then. Bye.